Dr. Pam Perry, and today is National Publicist Day, and I have another publicist today. We're going to talk a little bit about PR, uh, yes, but also therapy for PR girls, taken from therapy for Black girls, but this one is PR for therapy for PR girls. And it's really like how much we love our clients, almost to a fault. And me and Shaniqua Carr, we kind of like laugh about it, but just any type of field, has its ups and downs. But on National Day, I feel so honored to have Shaniqua here. She is one of the top uh, African American, one of the first African Americans in a major PR firm. And we're going to talk a little bit, but her background is in television. She has a nose for news, and we're going to bust the myths and give you some of the tips and tricks on PR. So I'll bring her up right after this.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. Like I said, Shaniqua, thank you so much for coming on today for Get Out There.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I know, especially on National Publicist Day, right? This is like the thing. We got our own holiday. It's like,
yes, right. Let's do it. Let's do this on our holiday.
On our holiday. So one of the things I want you to tell a little bit a background. Right now, you're more or less like in the lane of a media relations specialist. Is that kind of like a little bit? So explain what that is, and then kind of go backwards of how you got there, right? So like all the career pit stops, I guess you would say, that happened, and then how you ended up at Burson Marcella, and then also too the Car Collective as well.
Yes, I love that. I'll keep it really short too, because it's a longer story. I'm older than I look, right? I look great because black don't crack, but I've got some skin in this game. And you know what, again, so it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I started out in news first, way back in the day. I was a producer and also a reporter. I'm the first Black female anchor in Toledo, Ohio. I was a morning anchor, then the main anchor, and just I fell in love with news across the board. From there, though, I had these beautiful children, and it's very difficult to be this mother and also have these two babies, and you're the main anchor on TV. You're getting done at 11:30 at night. I was married at that time. My husband traveled for a living. So it was time to leave news at that point. So I went into PR. I worked for a great agency called Weber. They're fantastic. A lot of major clients that, I won't go into all of that, but I found myself just doing a lot of media relations. And media relations is basically having a nose for what makes news, like what's mediable. And so looking at a story, because PR is not a commercial, it's not an ad, it's being able to authentically connect with an audience. So helping your brand tell their story in a way that shows the impact to the audience, right? So that was kind of my superpower of seeing what makes news and how to get that brand to connect with that audience as well. I did that for a number of years at Weber, and then went on to consult and have my own agency. And now I'm back at a big agency at Burson, which is an amazing organization with a lot of big brands. And so I get to not only do media relations, but also some influencer engagement, but polycultural consulting, which is teaching brands on a very high level how to reach us where we are, because we're not in just one place. Media has changed so much. So we don't just read, as a Black woman, just Essence. I also read Entrepreneur. I also am on TikTok. I also go to different unexpected places. So how do you reach me in different places and spaces, and more than just media, also like in person and on social?
Wow. It is. That is one of the things. Media has changed. So it's not just radio, TV, and print, right? It's just it's so much. And magazines used to be the ones that was like the niche. But now everything is a niche. We've got online that is niche. We've got The Root. We've got Madame Noir. We got The Griot. We've got, TMZ. It's just it's so much. So say that again, where it was polycultural.
consulting. So polycultural, again, is different from multicultural. Multicultural might be, how do we reach the Black audience, right? Well, the Black audience is not a monolith. We're not this one thing. Yes, I'm a Black woman in the South. I'm a Black woman in the South who has 2 teen daughters. I have one teen daughter who wrestles and she also cheers. She's not one thing. She listens to, I don't know, Sexy Red, and she also listens to the Cranberries or the Smiths. So she likes all different kinds of music. So it's acknowledging that as a Black person or as a woman or as if you're a gay person, whatever, we're not just this one thing. So we can't just think of media campaigns to hit you in this one place, because you might be in several spaces all at one time.
So that is interesting. So if it's poly, that means the budgets are more or they're just sliced up differently.
What's
Because at one point
amazing,
in time, they could
uh-huh.
just like buy 5 different things. So say it's $50,000 for 5 different media outlets, $10,000 a piece. So now we got maybe 50 different outlets and they all get 1,000 a piece. I mean, so it's like how are
I'll
the
say this
budgets?
part right here. We definitely, and so I do earned. So everything I do is earned media. So I don't even get to pay and say, we want to be here or be there. It's literally, how do we tell these stories to engage people on a real credible way? That's not an ad, but it's earned. And you're right. It can't be like, oh, let's just go to Essence and the Griot and maybe we go to Madame Noir and we've covered our bases. No, what it really is right now is everything that everyone does is poly. Literally,
Mhm.
at the very beginning of strategy, no matter who the client is how do we reach Shaniqua Carr? Shaniqua Carr does not just like this one thing, right? So everything that we do, the demographics of the country are shifting. The economics of people are shifting. And so you can't just say, this is the one way to reach the Black community. No, how do you reach 365, 360? So every single
Mhm.
day of the year, all the way around, and all that we actually are. That's polycultural. We're more than one thing at one time.
That is good. And so influencer marketing is really a part of that. So say for instance, I like Tabitha Brown. So
Mm-hmm.
you could maybe engage her as an influencer and she could talk about, I don't know, whatever she talks about. And I'm going to listen to her because I like Tabitha Brown. But then also too, maybe I want to go to an event. I'm just saying Essence
Yeah,
Festival. So
sure.
then there's an experiential type of
Mm-hmm.
PR. So all of this is under polycultural marketing, but the
Mm-hmm.
PR part of it is all sliced up in so many different places. So the therapy that I want to talk to you about in terms of
Ooh,
PR
let's
therapy,
do it.
there was someone that I spoke with the other day, and they said, why can't we just go national? Why do I have to start local? Well, he has no footprint yet anywhere. So to go from zero to hero, like CNN, and we don't even know how you sound on the air. We don't know if you are even ready for that type of uh, platform. So
Yes.
explain why we don't have a magic wand and we can't, even though we may have the contacts and we can make the calls and they are our friends, media people are
Mm-hmm.
our friends, but we can't put them in places that when they're still, just not to sound discreet, not they're still like maybe on a bicycle and they want to go on a Ferrari, or some of them may be on a tricycle and they want to go into an airplane.
There
So
you
we
go.
have to explain how they have to work with us because we know better. We're not trying
Mm-hmm.
to hold them back, but we don't want them to really make a mistake on a larger platform and now they're blacklisted forever, right? So
Absolutely.
explain to them, especially someone who has no digital footprint, someone who's just starting out, maybe been in business 10 years and they want to really like now get more exposure in the media. And maybe they just say, well, hey, I see other people on Good Morning America. Why can't I be there?
And you know what? I mean, times have changed where even GMA doesn't go to the very same people every time. A lot of their experts are TikTokers, or it might be someone who's an everyday person, but they're very niche on social about what they're talking about. So that becomes a GMA experience. But what I will say is this, as a publicist, as a PR pro, our name is everything. Our reputation is everything. So if we are putting someone on TV who's not ready, not only have we hurt that person by not telling them you're not ready for this yet, we've also burned that bridge with that producer or that reporter because we put somebody in front of them that was not at all baked.
That
That
part.
that part,
Yes,
right?
that
And
part.
so that's happened to me before. Actually, this past year, there was someone who wasn't exactly quite ready, although they seemed to be ready. We media trained, but they got nervous and they were reading their scripts to the side of the screen. And it was obvious that they were like kind of looking to the right. So thankfully, that producer and I have a rapport where he was like, "What in the world?" That. But I was also able to say, was it, like we worked through it, but it was a key lesson to where it was making sure even on my end, although they may seem ready, right? Let's like you said, let's do some local, then let's do a little bit more local, and then let's maybe do some national. Let's do some national on tape, right? Like record it for us as opposed to live. But we all do the best that we can, but it's our job to protect the client and also our relationship with the media.
That's the key. That's where a publicist, where we're in both. So the client wants certain things from their PR. They want leads, they want exposure, they want people to know them, they want sales. And then the
Mhm.
media, they don't want sales. They don't want ads. They want stories. So we're
They want
in
stories.
between trying to bridge someone who wants to get out there and get known and get sales, but at the same time, the media is our friends and they want a story.
Mhm.
So if I that looks like right now that my internet is acting crazy.
It's
If
okay,
I
right?
fall out, you keep going and keep explaining what
Okay.
makes meetability or
Yes.
newsworthiness. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So definitely, we being mediable, and even for big brands, it's a big brand, a major brand with a story that's not a story. It's just not a story. It has no news value. So it's our job to also push back even to big brands to say, before we put out this pitch that's really just a commercial, let's dig through it and figure out, why does news care? Why does the public care? Because people are impacted by what moves them, and that's normally human interest, impact stories. It is things where they don't feel sold, but they feel connected to and connected with. So one of my favorite things to do is to get a campaign and then look through it and say, this is why it's mediable, or this is why it's not, and here's how we can make it something that is authentic. And then it doesn't just, like, our audience doesn't just hear it, but they believe in it. It's credible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing that people don't understand is that they don't like to be sold. So
Yes.
when I book an author, and the main thing they'll say, in my book, and they're saying it over and over again. It's like, okay, we get it. We know you're an author. They have put up some, background, some background video of the book and all of that. But now you're saying in my book. And it's like, okay, don't make it so much about sales. People will get it. They
Yes.
want to connect to a story. So one of the main things that I tell people, I said, if you say something to people and they really are interested, the TV station will have little notes below the video, or afterwards, or they'll have the
Mhm.
website. We could say carculturecollective.com, but I don't have to keep say, in my company, we like clients, this and that. And then
Yes.
it's like, okay, now it sounds like a commercial,
And you
which
do not want that.
yes, which is the lines are blurred.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that. So PR has changed so much. So there's some shows, TV shows that have segments that they sell.
Mhm.
And it could be the morning blend, it could be all these other type of shows where it's a segment.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I guess because we're in the business, we know that that's a paid segment, but they
Mhm.
have to say they call it sponsored content. What's
Mhm.
your feeling on sponsored content today? They have so many. It's in print, it's online, it's on television. I don't know if I've seen it on radio. Podcasts can be
Oh,
sponsored
definitely. Even
content.
radio. I mean, pay for play. That's what it's called. It's integration. And I would
Mhm.
definitely say the majority of what's being sold right now, and it's being sold, is pay for play, where clients come together with the media and they figure out how to create branded content or sponsor content that looks like news. I personally think it's a win-win because, as we all know, the media landscape has changed. Media outlets are closing left and right because the way they make money is through advertising. But when the eyeballs aren't there because they've gone to social media or people have just, tuned out from news, then that's when you get whole news departments shutting down. So there is something to still be said of being able to create some branded content that's not a commercial. Any good person who does branded content knows how to still make it newsworthy. Um, they still have a credible ethics where it's not just us telling whatever the client said, but it still is actual news that is credible. But there is, a bit more of a longer amount of airplay, maybe the segment's 7 minutes instead of 5 minutes, or maybe it's something where you get a bit more mentions within the copy. But the producers who are doing integration work very, very hard with the brands to make sure that it does not look like a commercial, but something that's still part of the news series.
Integration was something that was really done a lot in the movies back in the day. Like if
Yes.
someone like Ford Motor Company, if they were going to do a movie, it's like, well, Ford Motor Company, you'll make sure that the logo was
Hmm.
shown in that particular scene. That was just like
Product
integration.
placement. Uh-huh.
Yeah, product placement. And
Yeah.
so a lot of podcasts, if say for instance, if this was, 5-hour energy drink. So I have
There
this
you
5-hour
go.
drink and it's, I don't really say, oh, I'm going to run a commercial in there. But if I'm saying like, do you like 5-hour energy? That kind of thing. And then I'll pick it up and I'll have it. It's an integration. It's what an
Yes.
influencer. The lines are so blurred. Our consumers more attuned or smarter than you think than they were a while ago in terms of all this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
we're
Because
so
at this
used
point
to
in
so many
time,
messages. Yeah.
so many messages, so many different platforms. Again, people are not watching, like I call it big J journalism or appointment TV. At 6 p.m., David Muir comes on ABC News. We're all watching at the very same time. That doesn't happen anymore.
Mhm.
The eyeballs have dropped. People's attention has gone elsewhere, but they're also, I think they are smarter. There is something about me holding up this iPhone and talking about the iPhone, that's clearly an ad, or me saying, oh, 1 second, Pam, and me, my phone, I love this phone because that
Mhm.
seems like something kind of natural, and maybe that's an integration, or maybe the most credibility is when people do it and they're not being paid.
Yes.
So, all of that. But I'll back up to say this too. So Car Culture Collective, C3 as we call it, was birthed. I'm still loving my full-time job, but wanting to be able to create a space for social innovators or smaller startups to be able to get some good counsel. And so just, yeah, C3 is completely dedicated to taking some of these big ideas that I have, these big experiences, and then giving them to that startup, giving them to that social innovator, and still trying to figure out how to connect them with that big brand. It's my heartbeat, being able to tell stories across the board from big or to small.
That's part of what being a journalist is. You're a storyteller, so you're going to see it. So in terms of events, do you see the event space really growing in terms of experiential? How are
Yes.
people using events? Because I always tell a lot of my speakers that I work with that you need to create your own event. Do one marketing event a year and
Hmm.
really make it so that it's shaped the way it really pushes your brand out there. Whether you turn it
Absolutely.
into a charity or whatever. So what are some of the things that you could say to someone who is just kind of like getting started, kind of molding their brand, how they can use Car Culture Collective in terms, 3C, that's a lot easier to say. Thank God.
Yes, C3. C3.
3C.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of like events and influencers and things like that.
That's such a great question because, again, media relations, I love media relations, but I have had to evolve. And so when it comes to events, when it comes to social and influencers, stakeholder engagement, executive visibility, things like that, I'm telling the same story many different ways. So when it comes to events, people are hungry for in real life, in person, talk to you, touch you, connect with you, especially since COVID, right? And
Hmm.
so, what's happening, events are coming back online, but the success that we're really seeing is when people go smaller, these more intimate, curated settings. So, literally, I was just at Howard for their 100th HOCO.
Yeah.
Howard is like the number one HOCO in the world, according to Google. Don't hate, it's the truth. I did go to Howard. It's the most the most Googled. It is the number one HBCU in the country, according to Forbes right now. And so for their 100th homecoming, it was a great opportunity to bring some of my clients to Howard. And we had a house, an intimate venue space that only had like 60 to 80 people. And we don't do panels, we do combos and chats. And so we did 6 events in 5 days. We had everyone from the White House involved. We had L'Oreal. We had Lisa Price from Carol's Daughter. I mean, we just had these amazing spokespeople, and we would have these intimate conversations about entrepreneurship and what's really happening. And then to have someone like Lisa Price right there where you could ask her questions in a living room type setting.
Mm.
Then we had AI to the Future, which was from small Black AI startups to major companies like Microsoft. What are we looking out for when it comes to the conversation of Black people in AI? And then we had another mixer combo about diversity and representation on screens with some Bravo TV stars and some IG celebrities. So people were in love with these smaller, intimate events as opposed to a big conference where you hear kind of the same voices, the same speakers. When it's over, everyone rushes the screen. You get 5 minutes, maybe you get a LinkedIn, exchange, and it's over. With this,
Mhm.
literally, it was people sitting around almost like a house party, or
Yeah.
a living room experience where people are talking and building and growing and sharing with each other in real time. It was amazing.
I love that. Now, was that streamed or did they have videos? How does it promote, I guess you would say? So it's within the house, it's the 60 or so people. Do they take pictures? How is it
So if you go to our
amplified?
IG, so definitely on social, we're sharing little bits and tidbits, on it's thenbyc3.com. We
Okay.
really just started not even 3 weeks ago. We got like 250 followers in a week. So
Wow,
it was like
that's a
everyone,
lot.
it was great. It was like tell someone and they told someone. It was very, if you know, you know, and it
Yeah.
grew organically. And I'll tell you what, we're going to Afrotech in just a couple
Oh,
of weeks, November
oh,
13th through the 16th. And we have a beautiful house once again. We're doing some more of these little conversations and mixers as well. Again, talking about tech and founders and also art, things of that
mhm.
nature. So if you want to know more, you can check us out at the M by C3, or I'll post it too on carculturecollective.com.
I love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the things I think Morgan, can't pronounce her last name, but
Devon.
she's over Blavity and
Yes.
Afrotech. I mean, talk about someone who had vision years ago within that tech
Yes.
space. It's just
It's,
it's just amazing. I really, really love her as well. So this house and that whole intimate space, I find a lot of speakers, especially women speakers, they may have these that they had the dream of maybe doing these big conferences and filling up a hotel room, but now they're doing like retreats. And so the
yeah.
retreats are smaller, they're more intimate, there's more connections, a lot of leadership retreats and things like that. They're going to Dubai, they're maybe going to different places, tropical, Belize, whatever. But those are what I'm seeing more of a trend, what speakers are doing, but they still capture the content because content is what
Yep.
people need to capture and they amplify it that way. And
Exactly.
that's one of the main things I find different. I've been doing PR for 30 years, so obviously social media was not a thing. I mean, I definitely like in the 90s, I think at the most was like MySpace. So
Right.
so now it's like this is really a part of it. You have to, if
Yeah.
you're going to go into PR now, you've got to know how
Mhm.
to work those things. You got to know more than the basics. You got to even know like how to do some audio and video, on your
All of it.
app, on the phones. It's graphics,
Yes.
thank God for Canva, so
Yes.
it's like the PR game is not just knowing the media relations and doing that, but we've got to know all the things and what you said, the
Mhm.
polyculture of where everything is. And
Yes.
so what I find too is if someone wants to know something, they go to you, a PR person, because you have to have your hands on everything. And
Yes.
they'll ask you, like, what's the temperature for that? What's the pulse of this? Not only just the news, but just what's trending in social. How do you,
Yes.
AI? It's like, okay, now we got a whole nother level of things that we gotta work with and do, which keeps me excited about it. That's why I
Mhm.
love it. I mean, I'm
Well,
finding
I'll
out.
tell you what, for years, for decades, I was like, media, 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 media is all I do, right? And then finally, I had to realize there's so much more than just media, right? To really and truly tell our stories, we have to know what is the business objective. So, what are you trying to do? Is it sales? Is it brand awareness? What are you hoping to do? And we create the comms plan, communications plan based on that, right?
Mhm.
And so the overarching comms plan moves us forward to reach your business goal, but then our strategy informs our tactics. So media relations is part of it, events are part of it, social is part of it, executive visibility like lists and awards, that's part of the overall
Writing a
way
book
that
could
you
be part
inform.
of it.
Writing a book, having a podcast, own content, pay for play content, all of that goes into the overall communications plan.
Mhm.
And what I am really trying to reinforce is right now, even as a specialist, you have to think outside the box because, you know, it's called omni-channel. How do I tell this story multiple different ways?
Mhm.
Polycultural means that I read entrepreneur and I also read essence. So don't think, oh, let's find the Black outlets. It's how do we find where Black people are? We're in different spaces, and that's media, but also omni-channel. So what are the events where they are? Where are the socials where they are? Where even the whisper campaign of,
Mhm.
you know what? Like you only know because you know because your girlfriend told you, and that's like high credibility, but another way to still tell a story.
Mhm. That's the way Clubhouse really back in 2019,
Yeah.
2020 got started. It was like
Hmm.
you can only get on Clubhouse if you got an invitation.
There you
And then
go.
that blew up really big back then. And then you can only get on and get invitation if you have an iPhone,
There you
right?
go. There
So
you go. All of
so
that.
there was even more like specific about that. I love that. I love that. We've got like a few minutes left. And so that Clubhouse is not the same that it used to be. I think it's because people now, like you said, they want things in real life, so they don't want to just be on the phone all day. People used to be on
Yeah.
Clubhouse like all day during the
I remember
pandemic.
I declined the invitation initially. I kind of regret that, but I was busy raising some kids. So, I
Oh
was
yeah,
still
if they're
doing that.
teenagers, you got to really keep your eye on them. People
Yeah.
think that it's like when they're little. Mm-mm, no, no, no. It's when
It's all the
they're
time.
going into preteen and teenagers. That's when you need to have your eye on the most.
There you go. But I will also say back in 2019, that was the birth of TikTok. So my kids came of age
Oh
with
yeah,
TikTok. So I
yeah.
definitely was, if you name any TikTok sound or dance or trend, I probably knew that very well. So
Yes, yes, yes.
all of that.
The TikTok trends were really fun. I think the first one that I did with my daughter was Savage with
Okay.
yeah,
Megan Thee Stallion.
that and
Hmm.
oh my God, and that was so hard to do. And she was
It's
like,
a
you
good
know
workout.
what? I'm yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show you four more times and then that's it. I was like,
Oh, there it
okay.
is.
But you know,
But I'll add this
I
part.
I can't get
Trending on TikTok could take you further than that number one hit on Today's Show. So it's like there's, yeah, not sad but true, but true, but true. How do you tell a story
it
another
is.
kind of way? And it could be someone with high credibility who's on TikTok who's talking about something very specific. Maybe it's the election, maybe it's scented candles, I don't know. But it's the rise of the nano
Mhm.
influencer on social, not just the big person with the big brand awareness, but you might have 20,000 followers where you're talking about knotless bohemian braids and you're giving me the low. I'm going to watch that. That's going to create engagement, and you can monetize yourself on social giving that kind of content. So I just hope people realize that when it comes to PR is omni-channel, it's
Mhm.
polycultural, it's many things. It's not just that one thing to get you seen.
I have one client that self-published a book and the book and she promotes it on social and that kind of thing. And a publishing company, large one, has come to her and said, we want to republish your book. And it's
Yes,
because she's good at marketing online
there you
first.
go. Yes.
And she's an older person, so she's not like a TikToker age, right? She's like north of 50. So,
Hmm.
but because she's consistent with it, and I just want to tell people, be consistent with whatever it is at whatever channel you pick. Be consistent with it. Don't start out blogging and then abandon it. Don't start out
There you go.
podcasting and then abandon it. Then then it's like, oh, I do TikToks and then I don't. So you can only do so much, but they all kind of blend together. If you do, I remember when Ellen did her show, she would always have whatever were the top YouTube videos or the top,
Hmm.
I think it was Vines or whatever was the top, and she would have those people on her show. So they would combine. So social media, media needs social. So
There
they
you go.
do combine now. That is really, really key. And so this has been really good. It's been good therapy for me. I don't know if it's been for you, but
It's
it's
been
just
good
so
for
good.
me
It's
to
just so
help me
good.
see. Well, our brains are growing, so it's definitely, PR is different every single day. I never know what's going to
Yeah,
happen day to day. And
you
that's kind
don't.
of the cool part about it.
Yeah. And also too, I always tell people to go for awards as well. Awards
Yes,
also help as well because there's some awards that you can go out and get. And then that leads into other things. Even if you don't win, I said sometimes apply because you never know who's judging the awards.
there you
Okay.
go.
And that could be another opportunity. So I'm just saying, like, there are what you said, polycultural ways of really getting your message out there.
Yes.
That is so, so key. And so,
Get out the box. Get out of
Shanika,
the box. Yes.
yes. Thank you so much. And so I want people to go to Car Culture Collective, 3C.com, and another C in the .com, right? So you got four
There
C's
it is.
actually. So but three C's for sure. And Shaniqua, this has been really good. I want to give a shout out of how we met. We were on
Yes.
the brand, what is the name?
Behavior.
Yeah, the Brand Behavior podcast together. So we were on there together. So I said I got to have you back on. So John too had us meet, and I love him as well. His podcast is good. So go and take a listen to us. I think it dropped a couple of weeks ago.
Digital marketing. Yep.
Yeah,
Also, he's
yeah,
he's great at that. It's another part of it, another tool in the overall marketing toolbox. So
in our tuba. Yeah. Yes. And strategy is everything. Strategy is everything. So thank you so much for joining Get Out There, Get Known podcast. And like I said, I know you hadn't been in the office, we were working from home, but I think that space where you are right now looks really, really good. So thank you so
well,
much for joining us today and taking the time and dropping the nuggets and things like that so that people can actually know the bigger picture of how PR works in our marketing plan.
I
All
appreciate
right.
you asking. I'm honored. You are the queen, and just appreciate being here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Okay. All righty. Bye bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.